I am in just outside Sacramento, California. I'm here for work for a couple days, and then I'll probably be driving up to Oregon. It's about an 8-hour drive, if I'm not mistaken. While I'm here, I figured I'd make a video. I brought with me just one camera, packing light. So I brought with me the Nikon FE2. So there's a suspension bridge nearby. I'm going to try and go there, drone a little bit, take some shots with the FE2. I have Portra 400 in there. So yeah, got my coffee already. We're good to go, and let's get going. Under this. I'm having second thoughts now. Flew it under the bridge, no problems, and now I gotta go to work. So the original plan was to come out here this morning and drone underneath the bridge, but I slept a little bit. In my defense, I did get up at 3 to go to the airport yesterday, and then we were out working on that project till midnight. So I was a little behind on sleep, didn't sleep on the plane at all. I can't sleep on planes. So I was gonna come out here this morning for sunrise and get the some drone footage underneath the bridge, but I slept a little bit. So that was eventful. So this job ended earlier than expected, so I'm not sure if they're going to be ready or not. So I may end up flying back, but I might be here another couple days. I might be able to get up in Oregon and wait a day and see if we can squeeze something in right after I get there. But I have to go back. I have to check out of my room in like an hour and figure out what's going on. I am headed to Oregon. Took a little pit stop real quick to take in the view. Probably gonna regret that later. guys, and welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that little bit from my trip up to California and Oregon. As I said before, I was up there for 5 days. I flew into Sacramento, then drove all the way up to Portland, and then back down to Sacramento before flying back home. As you can see, I tried to record some footage while I was up there, and pretty much all I got was an intro and some random B-roll clips. So there's room for improvement. First time doing something like that. We'll work on it. We'll get there. Trust me, we'll get there. So you got to see a lot of the shots from that trip throughout that video. I shot Portra 400 on this camera. I wanted something a little bit versatile that gave me a lot of options. And then I pretty much shot this fully automatic, and it did very well. I didn't put it through as much testing as maybe I should have. Probably should have taken some more shots backlit and things like that, or in just really poor or low light, just to kind of see how it worked out. But from the shots you saw, you can see that the camera did a pretty good job. So first, let me just get my glasses out here and just pull up some information. Okay, there we go. Let's pull that down, drag that over, and drop. So now let's go over the Nikon FE2. I have a battery grip for this camera. Did I use it? No, because it takes 8 batteries and I want it to eat. So first off is cons. Again, this is another camera where the advanced lever has to be out in order to shoot the camera. So I really don't understand why that's a thing, why they thought that was a good idea. It gets in your face. I hate it, and it is just the worst thing ever. On the bright side though, if you push it in, it locks, you're not gonna shoot. But if you saw a previous video today with the Nikon F2, it's just got a little lock switch there on the shutter button, which I think is much better. And yes, you do have to turn it and lock it, so if you accidentally press it without locking it, you're gonna fire a shot, but I would prefer that rather than to have this poking me in the face whenever I use this camera. I don't like that. So the next con is the battery. With the FE2, when you press the shutter, the battery is activated for 16 seconds. That is a long time. Whether you like it or not, it's on for 16 seconds. The next con, it does not accept non-AI lenses. That is the biggest bummer for me, because I have a few great non-AI lenses, such as my 50mm 1.2 that I love to shoot with whenever I get a chance. It is big, it's obnoxious for a lens, but it is great, and I really prefer to use that lens whenever I can. I could not take it on this trip because it would not mount to this camera. The next thing is to open the film door. There is a little notch next to the film rewind that you have to push, and then also pull out the film rewind before you can get into the back door. I do not understand the purpose of that. I have 30 or 40 different 35mm cameras I could pick up right now. Any one of them would not have that feature. I do not understand why that is on this camera. I was talking to a buddy of mine yesterday. I think he has an FM and he also has a FA as well, and they both have that same thing, and he has lost that little knob on both of those cameras. So he has like a soda can pop somehow rigged onto this camera so he can open that thing. And if I have to do that, I am not gonna be happy. I really don't understand the point of that. I mean, if someone would like to explain it to me, you can try. I'm not gonna like it either way, but knock yourself out. Can't pull the tab. I don't get it. So positives. There are a few. Shutter speed wise, it goes up to 4,000, and then it goes all the way down to an 8-second exposure. And that is all on the shutter speed dial. So the previous video I talked about the Nikon F2, you had the ability to go up to a 10-second exposure, but it was a little more intricate. You had to turn the shutter knob to timer, and then you had to adjust the timer down here and set it to 10 seconds. And it's not like adjusting the shutter speed up here where you have a nice click so you know you're on the next one. You kind of have to feel for it, and there's dots, you kind of line it up, but there's no click to like reassure you that you're on the right shutter speed. And then you have to press the shutter, and then it does the job. Yes, it can go up to 10 seconds, but it's a little more detailed, and it's more of a process. Whereas with the FE2, it's right here on the shutter speed dial, and there's a manual 250 and then also bulb on that as well. Second thing is, it is plastic. That is the biggest plus I noticed on this trip, is walking around with this all the time. It's not cumbersome, it's a little bit lighter body, so I will say it was nice to not have to worry about that heavy, bulky body carrying around. This felt better just because it's lighter, The leather grip is a little nicer, I think. Fake leather, whatever it is, plasticky. It was just less cumbersome, and I did enjoy the slightly lighter weight to it. Another thing is that there is a double exposure right on the film advance. So I have this shot I took of Josh, and I used that button there, and a lot of Nikons have that feature. A lot of Canons don't have that feature, but there's a hack for the Canons like the AE1 AE1 program, so you can take double exposures. But it is kind of cool to have that there. It just gives you another creative option to kind of create interesting compositions like I did with the photo of Josh here. Double exposures is something I really want to do a lot more of. It's a real process, and you really have to think about every shot and then your composition and then where things line up. So for this one, you have to take the first shot and you have to underexpose it and make sure you remember the lines, and then if you plan out your second shot and then line it up with your first shot, and also make sure you underexpose the second shot as well so that the exposure of the two shots combined comes out properly. You also have to remember your shadows and your highlights and your colors to kind of know how it's going to blend together and how it's going to overlap to make sure that you didn't just waste 30 minutes. That being said, double exposure is great. I'm not sure if I love it or hate it. It's kind of somewhere in between. I could make an argument for either one. And so honestly, that's about it. I really wanted to love this camera. I was excited when I got it. It was kind of an added bonus on a bulk deal I got earlier. And don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic camera. It's a great camera, a lot of great features. It's built pretty well. I wouldn't think it's as durable as like an F1 or F2 or even the F3. But yeah, at the end of the day, I wanted to love it, and I was just kind of like, meh. But there are a lot of people that really do like this. And depending on the condition, and of course, being black, I mean, most likely you're gonna pay anywhere from $120, $130 all the way up to $300, $400. It really just depends. There's a lot of variables. As always, just do your research. This is a manual exposure aperture priority camera. So meaning that you can set the exposure to automatic and you can pick your aperture and the camera will do that work for you. And as you change your aperture, the camera will change the exposure accordingly to properly compensate. As I said, this does have a lot of great features, and it does rival the Nikon F3 in some respects. Mainly because, like I said before, the shutter speed does go up to 1/4000th of a second, whereas the F3 only goes up to 1/2000. Then for the light meter, this has a needle, so it tends to be a little more accurate and much quicker, whereas the F3 is electronic, and so you're not going to get quite a pinpoint accuracy. However, the Nikon F3 probably built a little bit better, and then of course it does have the removable prism, and I think there are a lot of add-ons you can do with the Nikon F3. So there are a lot of photographers that prefer the FE over the FE2. Now the main difference is this camera goes up to 1/4000th, which I thought I would be more excited about until I realized I'm probably never gonna shoot 1/4000th shutter speed battery life. Like I said before, battery stays on 16 seconds whether you like it or not. With the FE, you press the shutter, that's it. The battery activates when you press it. When you don't press it, you're not using your battery life. So you're gonna get a much longer life out of your batteries with the FE. FE accepts non-AI lenses. So the 51.2 that I really wanted to use, I could use on the FE, but I cannot on the FE2. There are some adapters you can get and buy, and I'm thinking about doing that just because I'm running into more and more problems where I want to use that lens and I can't because a lot of the cameras tend to not accept those lenses. Another thing that's kind of a hit or miss is that the FE allows you to take full advantage of frames 0 and 00. What does that mean exactly? So with FE2 and a lot of cameras, it will advance till you have a clean shot that is unexposed film to make sure that all your shots come out perfectly and crisp, and that you're not gonna waste a few shots and not get them be able to expose. I could with my F1 or my F2 because they're fully mechanical. A lot of the newer cameras will make you advance 2 frames before letting you start shooting normally. With the FE2, I think you're limited to 125 or 250 shutter speed on those 2 frames. With the FE, you have full capabilities with those 2 frames, so you can shoot whatever shutter speed aperture you want on those. So you get another frame or 2. Is it a big deal? Not necessarily. I don't think it's enough to justify making the FE better in that aspect. Yes, it can be an advantage, but for me, it's not a huge deal. So that is gonna wrap it up for the Nikon FE2. I hope you enjoyed this video. Next up, we have the Olympus XA. I kind of put that behind this one. So again, make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below, say hi, ask any questions. I try and do my best to answer those appropriately. And do I make mistakes? Yes, I've messed up several times, pretty bad ones too. And as you can see, I'm trying to get things a little bit more set up. I got a couch over here, I got my camera's over here. I'm trying to get things situated so we can really start making a lot more of these videos. But yeah, thanks again for watching. Keep checking in. We got a lot more coming your way.